What's up, my beautiful friends? So, I don't get to talk to you guys as much as I'd like to, so I thought I'd take a minute. I'm waiting on some paint to dry, as usual. I'm your buddy Sarge. I am a reverend and a Satanist. I do not represent the Satanic Temple yet because nobody does. That program is going to be rolled out, and I'm going to take it and take the tests and hopefully pass all that stuff. But so please understand that anything that I say in post or in video is just my opinion only. It has nothing to do with other Satanists or the Satanic Temple proper. That will be established later when I've earned that right. So I wanted to tell you a little story. We'll smoke a cigarette together. And, you know, this isn't scripted, so you have to forgive me because I stumble and I run off on tangents. That's just how I am. I want to tell you a story about who I used to be. So, you know, I grew up in some very tough conditions. We were very, very poor. We didn't have very much. And then I moved in with my grandparents, who were super duper like Pentecostal Christian types. So, you know, I did that for years. I never really felt comfortable, but I was in the South. You know, I was in Texas, in Arkansas, and Oklahoma, and some other places like that. And I grew up in an environment that was racist and bigoted, and I inherited some of those things and took them onto myself. And so I have a history and a past that has some of that in there. These are things that I'm deeply embarrassed about, but I want to be honest about them because I think it's important. You know, in our society we have this idea that to flip-flop, or, you know, what people call it, is a bad thing. And I really don't see it that way. I've noticed that in my life, you know, now I'm sure you've noticed I do a lot of work with the LGBT community. I especially enjoy, I've made some wonderful friends within that community. I have friends that are former military, that are trans now, and they're happy in their lives. They're able to be themselves. This is all stuff that I didn't understand when I was in that culture. And so, you know, I've had some folks ask me why I am so long-suffering with the Christian community, or why I'm so kind to them about, you know, even when they attack me. This is a night where I was attacked and kept from being able to do video, and so I'm kind of going rogue and doing it on my YouTube channel. But I came from that background, and I remember that when you're in an echo chamber and you don't hear outside ideas and you don't hear the other side's arguments, I just remember thinking that I had all the answers, right? Which, anytime you think that, you're wrong. You know, I imagined that, you know, if you would have asked me back then, I knew that I was going to heaven. I just knew it. I knew that Jesus was in my heart. I wasn't paying attention to the fact that there's so many obvious things wrong with religion, wrong with believing these pipe dreams that we've been sold. I didn't want to believe that it was wrong. So as I continued to study the Word and continued to push myself to learn more and more about the Bible, I got less and less interested. You know, it faded very quickly, and I was surprised to feel it slipping like sand through my fingers. I was afraid. I was deeply afraid that I was going to go to hell because I would show up to church, and I wouldn't feel it. I would hear some of the bigoted things that people would say about the LGBT community and folks that are in it, and folks that I was coming to know at that time and meeting, and they were all wrong. They were all wrong. I was wrong. One of the hardest decisions I ever made was to say that I was completely wrong about something and turn it over. You know what I mean? So when I became an atheist, that was a fun time. It was a time of learning. I spent a ton of time watching debates and kind of understanding more about the side that I was now on. I have an uncle that is an uncle and an aunt that are professors at UT, and They were atheists when I was growing up, and I remember I just couldn't identify. I couldn't figure out why they wouldn't want there to be a heaven. You know what I mean? But the truth of the matter is there's not one. You know, and so we can want there to be something as much as we want. I could want there to be a diamond buried in my backyard, but it's either there or it's not. You know, and so my life may be made better in my mind by the idea that this diamond is in my backyard. But if it's not there, it's not there. And what I noticed as I read through the Bible is that I just didn't identify with all the things that were wrong with it. You know, never once is slavery said to be a bad thing. And the idea that you could govern how somebody else loves someone else, or how they, you know, humanity is very complicated. It's one of the best things about us is that we spend this lifetime kind of growing and learning and becoming who we are. And so I now have friends that are, you know, former military and they're trans, or they're former military and they're lesbian or gay, and completely different than I would have ever imagined being my friends when I was a Christian, because I was a bigoted dickhead, is the truth. It's very hard for me to talk about because it's embarrassing to me, but it's the truth. It's the truth. And identifying with the truth and accepting it and speaking openly about it is one of the greatest things that I love about being a Satanist. You know, we're obviously not, you know, I'm not a theistic Satanist. They do exist. I'm not one. I'm an atheist still, which is kind of the main stance of the Satanic Temple, from what I gather. I'm going to learn more, and I'm learning more. At the same time, the idea of excluding anybody or making somebody feel bad about themselves, or looking down my nose at anybody seems so foreign now. And I remember when I was a Christian, you know, you go to church like, you know, come as you are, be yourself. You know, they don't really mean that at all. What they want you to do is conform with everybody else. And I've noticed as I've lost family members and friends and everything to me coming out, if you will, as a Satanist, that's challenging. Now imagine that you don't feel at home in your own body. You know, imagine that you are born with male parts, but you really don't feel like that. You know what I mean? I didn't really understand it until I had a very close friend named Mackenzie. She was a lesbian when I met her. We hated each other. We fought like cats and dogs for almost 6 months. And then we became really, really close friends. And I remember the days like it was yesterday when she came to me and she said, you know, I don't feel like a woman. I never really have. My body has never felt like a home to me. I feel like I need it to be different. I need to understand it in a different way. I think that I'm trans. And so I went through this process of her kind of becoming Mac, of her becoming him, the person that she was meant to be, that he was meant to be. And then I remember the judgment and the terrible things that happened with his family that made him feel like he wasn't at home anywhere. And when he committed suicide, it was one of the hardest things that happened to me in my life, because we kind of gone through this thing together, and I'd learned so much from him, you know. And to lose him was one of the hardest days of my life. And I'll never forget, I was actually driving to present a painting to a place. It was kind of an exciting day, and I got the phone call from a friend, and she said, hey, Mac killed himself. And I just remember the bottom fell out. You know, I just, it's still up for me today. We had been through so much emotions together, so many things together, that going from being a bigoted dick to having a very close lesbian friend, to going through the transition, and him becoming himself, we were close. We were very close. And to lose him was very hard on me. And I remember at that moment I told myself, I'm going to do whatever I can to be a part of this community. I may be a straight guy or whatever like that, but that doesn't mean that I can't identify with and love and accept people that I may not fully understand. I don't have to. I just have to love them. That's my duty, is to love and care for them. And so that's what started this mission that I've been on, to ensure that people that are in the LGBTQ community feel at home with me, that they feel the love that I have for them. They see how much I strive to understand and be a part of their lives. Even though I may, I put my foot in my mouth a lot, I'm a loudmouth guy, right? I always have been. And so I don't know all the rules all the time, and I make some mistakes, it happens. But I think it's very clear that my heart's in the right place. And as I build this new, I've never seen a gallery showing of an artist celebrating the diversity of life, the beauty of being a trans person, the beauty of being a lesbian or a gay person. That was done. I've never seen one, period. I'm sure they exist, but I've never seen one at all. And I thought it would be a beautiful thing to take this next big art show and really pour my heart into bringing out all the beauty of the trans community, of the gay community, of the lesbian community, and of the Q community as well, and just making people feel understood and loved. And so I'm a flip-flopper. I'm a guy that, man, if you'd have met me a couple years ago, you wouldn't have even begun to imagine just how much of a shithead I used to be, And the reason that I now like to offer advisement, the reason I identify as a reverend and that I put time into being able to marry people federally, is so that I can right some of the wrongs that I did in my past. And I think it's a beautiful thing. We all have a bit of a past behind us, things that we don't want to identify with any longer, things that defined us before but now are an embarrassment. For me, it's the most beautiful thing in the world. Sorry, I get the scratchy knees. It's the most beautiful thing in the world when somebody can look back on their life and say, I believed this fundamentally. I really felt like this was the truth. And then as I got educated, as I changed, as I met people, as I came to understand things, I realized I was wrong. And instead of continuing on that wrong path, I completely turned around and did everything different from that moment on. We hear often about, politicians that look like they've got these snow-driven, snow-driven white pasts. And I have to be honest with you, I don't trust that. Just like when I meet, Christians or any religious person that has never had exposure to the other side, which I do often. I am kind of a public figure to a degree. It's reluctant. I don't mind doing it, and I like to paint, with folks. But I'm very socially awkward, honestly. I'm a little bit nerdy and a little bit weird, and so I don't always know how to present myself very well. And then, like I said, luckily I've got some friends that help me, but I will put my foot in my mouth very fast. So it's challenging for me sometimes to be in front of people. And one of the reasons that I started filming is because I wanted to give you the opportunity to see kind of the inner workings of how I do my work. But more than that, I was scared to do it. And so I had this fear of, what if I make a mistake? What if I do something where somebody's watching me live and I don't get to edit the video or anything like that? This is why I do it live. What if I make a boo-boo? How am I going to deal with that? And so what's funny is I've actually learned how to be a better artist from doing it live, because you have to fix it live, And so I have been very surprised. I remember when I was a Christian that we would talk a lot about honesty. We would talk a lot about being truthful. But man, nobody was. Everybody was kind of hiding under the carpet all their flaws and all their mistakes. What I've noticed is within the satanic community, one of the reasons that I enjoy being somebody that can offer some advice, it's not because I'm smart, man. It's not because I think anything special about myself. I'm not special. Nothing about me special. I do artwork, and I like to talk to people and be a part of their lives, and that's it. I'm no authority on anything. I have extensively studied the Bible and some things like that, and believe me, I can go toe-to-toe pretty good on a debate. At the same time, though, that's really not what I do. What I do is try to provide a beacon of light for people to look at and say, you know what, that guy changed his life. That guy did a lot of things differently before, and now he is trying to right those wrongs, and he's doing so with action. And so I guess what I'd like to encourage you to do today is just think about a way or a thing maybe in your life where you have judged somebody inappropriately or just anything, and see if you can make a change, even if it's a small change. You'll notice that when I talk to Christians, I do my very best to put my best foot forward. And the reason I do that is because as Satanists, we kind of get a bad rap to begin with because they don't understand us, right? They don't understand that their God is not real to us, right? And so in my case, because I'm an atheist, neither is the devil. They're not real to me, right? We use this figure on purpose because it's the only thing they'll listen to. So in a way, they created us. They gave the world a need for us, right? Because we want there to be true equality. That means if you love another man, if you love another woman, if you don't feel like a woman but you feel like a man, whatever the fuck you are, right? Whatever you are, you can feel comfortable. You don't have to lie about things. You don't have to hide in the closet. You don't have to kill yourself like my friend Mac. You can just be fucking happy, and you can be accepted and loved openly by other folks. I always think it's kind of funny because I have friends that are, they're part of the LGBT community, and they'll say kind things to me, but they have this natural tendency to put a disclaimer in there, like, hey, I'm not trying to be too forward. I'm not trying, you're not. Okay, let me just tell you something. I'm so proud and happy to be a part of these communities and to be a positive part of the satanic community. You can't say anything that's going to harm me or upset me. And if you're kind to me and you're loving to me, my God, why would I not be the same to you? That's not who I used to be. That's who I am now. I would encourage you to find a way, and maybe it's Christians. I know that my natural tendency when I first left the faith was to, God, I kind of wanted to make them pay for lying to me my whole life, I was mad at first. I was mad atheist, I was a pissed off dude for a moment. And I would just fight with them all the time, but you'll notice I try not to engage in that. I do a little bit, and sometimes I get a little worn out. I think we all do, with hearing the same shit over and over again, whether it be the tired argument of, well, if I'm going to make a bet, I'm going to bet that, that's ridiculous. I would imagine that if there's a real God, he would know your heart. And so if you're just making a bet to go to heaven, then surely that's not real. That's disgusting, right? So anyway, moving past that, I just wanted to encourage you to do what they don't do. Be what they are not. Be accepting, loving, kind, generous, friendly. Find a way. And man, sometimes it's hard. I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes there are days that I just want to go nuts on somebody, and you're going to have those, and that's okay. Talk to your satanic friends, or visit with folks that are part of your circle, but do so in a positive way. I think that when we show them positivity, it gets very hard for them to say bad stuff about us when they are confronted with the fact that, and this is what I was confronted with, Satanists are better fucking people. When you meet somebody, and I wasn't a gothic person in high school. I was kind of a popular jock guy, right? And so, and I think I still get a little bit of that. When I first started in the community, I got quite a bit of disbelief just because of that and stuff, and so I had to overcome a little bit of that. But that's okay. I get it. When you've been oppressed or hurt by somebody that looks a certain way, very easy to just tack that right onto them. Anybody that looks that way. So no big deal. It took me a little bit of work, to become accepted within the community. But now it is the most beautiful community I've ever been a part of, and I've been a part of a lot of things. I've been a Freemason, all the way to a Marine, to a football player, to a soccer player, to a boxer. I've done all kinds of things, and they all have their own communities. But this is the one where I found the most love. And you know what's funny is I found the most love from the very people that I would have never expected it from in my past. The LGBTQ community that I've met have all been accepting, loving, and kind to me, and the best people on the fucking planet. And so I've been lucky to be able to call them my friends. And so I want to thank those of you that are out there that know who you are, that have made it a point to be kind and accepting and loving to me. It means something to me. It does. And being able to be trusted with your stories, being able to be trusted with your image, and to paint you and represent you. And man, I do everything from nudes to colorful, bright paintings, anything a client wants. I don't care. There's no judgment from me. There's only love, and that's something I had to grow into. So maybe we all need to grow a little bit, and we all should try. Personally, I'm having to fight a little bit to hang on to my care for the Christian community. I do love them. I want to help them, and I think it's one of the biggest issues is I remember who I was when I was one of them, and my heart is to help. And so I think, and I've said this many times, but if you're going to be clergy in anything, it's not about you. It's not about you being cool or being able to wear a cool outfit or any stupid shit like that. It's about you caring and you having compassion in your heart enough to want to help others, right? And so I hope that you know when you see me posting, you see me talking, my heart is just to help, to be an example. And I don't mean like, hey, you should follow me because I'm so cool, because I'm just not cool, okay? I'm just not. I'm far from it. At the same time, there are folks that don't feel comfortable speaking out about being a Satanist, or they feel like it's important for them to hide because of their jobs or their lifestyles, or their family or whatever, and that's fine. But they need a voice too, right? And so I'm very comfortable. I'm a professional artist. I get lots of work. I'm very busy. And so I decided a while back that I was going to throw caution to the wind, and I was going to come out as a Satanist and live openly as such. Then I was going to, become a reverend so that I could marry trans couples or gay couples or anybody that had love for somebody else, that was going to different places, trying to find someone to love them enough to serve them as a minister. Right? And so my granddad used to say this thing. He said, well, what are you going to do about it, right? And so I hear his voice. I'm like, hey, there's this gap, there's this thing that's missing. And I hear my papa's voice, and he's like, well, what are you going to do about it? Meaning, how are you going to take action to fix it? So I hope that you know, as you get to know me better, and as we become closer friends, that even though I put my foot in my mouth sometimes or say stupid things, or maybe I'm not fully educated on all the the social nuance. Man, I'm old, man. I'm 40. I fuck things up. It's just the way I do things. Plus, I spend all my time in the studio, so I don't do a lot of social shit. At the same time, I hope you know that my heart is in the right place. That everything I do it out of love for you, even if it's something stupid. So I just wanted to take a minute and kind of tell you about my past, where I come from, and who I am, because it's important to me that you know me, so that when you are watching me paint or you're watching me do something else, you have a good grip on why I do it, why it's so important to me, why I put so much emotion into it, because I think that helping others is, well, it's my ministry, if you will, and I mean that as an atheist. I'm not spiritual or anything like that, but honestly, these pieces, they speak to me in a way that's kind of hard to explain. When I talk to you about what you want, sometimes I don't know how I'm going to do it, and then I'll have a dream or I'll wake up and it's just there, and it kind of guides me. It's nothing woo-woo or anything like that, but sure is cool, you know. And so this has been way too long. Like everything I do, this is long-winded, so I apologize. At the same time, I want you to know that I love you deeply, no matter who you are, no matter how you identify, it doesn't matter to me. And so when you contact me, if you decide to about doing a painting, don't be timid, because you're not going to upset me or embarrass me. Or if you say something nice, you know, a compliment, and people have been looking at my stripper pictures lately. That's a long time ago, kids. But know that it doesn't bother me, you know. If someone says something nice to me and kind to me, or gives me a compliment, I'm very secure in who I am. I don't need to qualify it by being rude to anybody or by being offended by anything stupid. So I hope you know that I love you, and we'll end it there. That's Sarge's PSA. Hey, let's get some painting done. I'm hoping this will be dry here soon. I'm having trouble videotaping. I'm having to do it via my YouTube page. It takes forever to load up, and I can't go live on it right now. So please forgive the time lag. For my sister Elvira Temple, I'm working on your piece, sister. I'm sorry. I'd love to be able to do it live, but somebody hit me pretty hard with all my video stuff. So all of my love. Hail Satan. And have a beautiful, beautiful day. Be kind to somebody today. All right, my friends. Thank you so much.